What's up, guys? Today we're gonna take a look at Vogoth, one of my all-time favorite champions and one of the original champions that got me started in pushing in Arena. He was released around 2 years ago, a little bit after I started pushing in Platinum Arena regularly. And at the time of his release, the game was very different than it is nowadays, and he was probably a bit better in comparison to what is his status nowadays. But he had one very broken thing where his passive healed in between multi-hits, and for a time he was actually OP and he was nerfed fairly quickly. But even after that nerf, he was still very viable, and I ended up using him in my reset defense for like almost a year until I got better champions. And I ended up making two of him, and I was using both of them in Tag Team Arena, and then I was also using the other one a lot in Doom Tower and PvE content as well. He has a very simple, good passive that heals everybody in the team, and he basically doesn't need to do anything else but stand there and take damage. And it's a very good budget champion for many content in the game, but even for endgame arena content. So let's first take a look at his skills so we understand them better. His A1 is a triple hitter, and it has a chance to increase the duration of one random debuff. Now for PvP, this doesn't matter at all, but for PvE, it might be sometimes relevant on some bosses that maybe you can increase the duration of attack down or something else. And for the A2, it does a provoke, and if he lands the provoke, he will also put a decrease attack. For Arena, usually enemy will have immunity, or maybe he will die before he gets a turn or gets CC'd, but sometimes it might be very useful, but it's not the main factor about him. For PvE, it's kind of the same deal. Most of the bosses can't be provoked, but the ones that can, like Magma Dragon, against them it will be very good because he will both provoke them and place a decrease attack. Now, if we look at his A3, this is the main reason why he's good. This is his signature skill. And what it basically does is that it heals the entire team by 50% of the damage he takes, and also heals himself by 25% of the damage that he takes. Now, to use this skill properly, you want to have him as the last person in the team, so that everybody else takes the damage before him, and then he takes the damage and also heals everybody, because if he's before others, then they might be full HP and take damage, and he will heal them before they take the damage. But it still doesn't heal in between multi-hits, just so you know. And there's a few other things that you should know about this skill as well. It doesn't heal from indirect damage, so let's say bulwark or poisons or burns, those won't count for it. But it's overall a very strong skill, and even if he's locked out or is CC'd or is doing nothing else, as long as he stands there and takes some damage, he will be very useful to the team. And there's many ways to cheese with this and for him to be very relevant that you will see later on. Now, if we look at the builds that I have on him, I basically have two copies of him, and the other one is for PvE and the other one is for PvP. But you could basically use the same build on both of them and it would work generally pretty well. But the main sets that I would look on him is Swift Parry, Guardian, Bolster, and yeah, I think those are the main sets. And for 2Ps it's like Immortal and Frostbite, but basically even just broken 2P sets or even broken 6P sets will work as long as you focus on getting as much HP as possible. Now, the thing about Swift Parry is that if he gets 1 HP, but he still stays alive, he will still heal himself. So it's very good for arena for that reason, and just to stall and save your revives for later and so on. But nowadays there's other options like Bulwark and Bolster. And also, by the way, about Bolster, he will not heal from the damage done to the shields. I kind of mentioned it before that he doesn't heal from indirect damage, and shield is one of those things. Like, shield is very good, but he will not heal from the damage done to the shield. But Bulwark is very good for PvE, because it will heal himself and also reduce the damage that the team takes. But also he will not heal from the damage that he takes because of Bulwark passive. And yeah, apart from those two, it's Bolster for very simple reasons that he adds shields and you will just basically build him high HP and probably nothing else. Maybe some accuracy or speed for PvE, but for PvP you don't need anything else but HP. Also, Regeneration set is very good for PvE for very simple reasons. Like, against if you have good gear, then many of the bosses can't even kill him. And for the masteries, I will just use these masteries. The other ones don't really make big difference, but even if you don't have any masteries or you have slightly different ones, it's not big deal. You could use Fearsome Presence as well, instead of Bulwark, and that would apply to Frostbite if you use Frostbite 2-piece set. Or you could even use Frostbite 6-piece set if you want. I mean, it of course depends on your gear, and the good part about Vogoth is that he will work on even very crappy gear. Like, even if you don't have any set bonuses at all, if you just have HP bottom pieces and stack as much HP as possible, he will still be very useful for the team. And yeah, it's the same for the blessings. I don't think any of the, like, if you could get Polymorph, that would be good, but you can only get it on legendaries, so I don't think any of the other blessings really matter on him. I mean, if you really want to min-max him, then for PvE, maybe you use Cruelty, but yeah, that's about it. It's not big deal. So let's try him a bit in Arena next, so you get a better impression how he works. Or actually, let me show you what. So here we have a clip about my old Arena teams. Actually, this was for a guide that I made for tag team, I think. But as you can see on my first team, it has 2 Vogoth, and this looks like a troll team. It's 2 Vogoth, Doom Priest and Mortu. And what this team does is very simple. It has 3 healers with passive that heals, and Mortu that does damage with passive as well. So they don't mind being locked out, and they just focus on keeping Mortu alive, hopefully. And I'm using it against a team that is basically fast speed team with heavy CC and not too much damage. And I'm just able to auto a team like this, and like easy cheese with Vogoth. And I'm just using both of the Vogoth here because I have them, but you could do whatever variation about this type of team that you have. I mean, you could use many other types of teams with him, or you could pair him with Rotos like I will do later in this video, or just Candy or anything else as well. Like, you can use him to heal your Duchess or Revivers or whatever as well. He's a very good filler champion in tag teams in general, especially if you use any kind of tanky tag teams, which you probably will do if you're not like super, like if you don't have a super endgame account, because you're probably not able to make multiple speed teams. I mean, me personally, I don't ever use speed teams. I have one kind of speed team with like Stone Skin Arbiter for tag team, but I only use it against slow teams. It's not actually fast. But yeah, as you can see, this is slow but steady, easy fight, and you can probably do something like this as well if you have these champions, or maybe something similar. Now let's do some arena fights to see how it works in arena. What do we have? It might actually be pretty good against Scupidus types of teams today, that we have in today's meta. This is the team that I used to use back in the day. This was my old arena defense. Now it's slightly different nowadays because my arbiter is in Stone Skin and everybody else, or Vogoth and Rector doesn't have as good gear as back then, but let's see how it does against a team like this. I'm not sure exactly if I will win if I play this with full auto, but I think it will probably do okay. Let's see. Like, as you can see, like, this is very good synergy with Rotos, because Rotos can only take half of his damage, and Vogoth has way more HP than Rotos. So every time my team takes AoE hit, Rotos will get healed to full HP. Now, this is insane synergy with something like Rotos, but even with other champions, it will be very good. Like, for your revivers or Candy that has like his passive and maybe Necret passive on him as well, and so on. And it's just very simple, like, budget way to do well in arena. You don't need any good gear on Vogoth. He only needs HP. He doesn't necessarily need any sets, and he doesn't need to be fast or even accuracy or anything else. And yeah, we're just slowly gonna beat this team down. That's how simple it is. Now, okay, this fight is gonna take a bit more because it's a fucking marriage cut who needs a nerf on her passive, but as you can see, Vogoth did what he's supposed to do and basically kept the team alive. And the idea in this team, if you wonder like why I was using back in the day, so basically it's 2 revivers with Vogoth, so that when Vogoth dies, then probably he will have a revive on him as well. And back in those days, I wasn't fast and I didn't have a lot of meta champions, so this is all I could do. And it worked surprisingly well. Like, I got hit tons. Like, let's say I did 10-minute push and I got hit like 30 to 40 times. And this was normal to me back in those days. But I also got tons of wins, like sometimes even like 50% win rate, but maybe a bit less, like it varied a lot. But I often got people messaging me that your team caught me off guard and I didn't know that those champions can be so good. And back in those days, I had everybody in 2-piece Frostbite. Even my Rotos was in 2-piece Frostbite because I didn't have like very good gear on him anyway. So, but yeah, let's see how this team does in PV as well. Like, nowadays I don't really use Vogoth because I have a lot of good champions and we had many good fusions. But the only content I really use him like for real is Bomal. And I will probably make a video about Bomal when we have it in rotation, but he's useful in most of the dungeon bosses. Like, Bomal is good example, then Magma Dragon of course, and Griffin as well. This is actually a team that I used to use back in the days. I think I had Brockney instead of Ninja, but let's see how this team does. Like, it's gonna be the same thing as in the arena fight. We're just slowly gonna dwindle the boss down, and Vogoth is gonna heal the team every time we take AoE damage from the boss. And probably during this fight some of them will die because we're just using one reviver and one healer and no revivers and no other healers. The boss will probably kill a few of them slowly, but eventually we will take the boss down and Vogoth will keep them alive long enough to beat the team. Looks like my Iron Brago died this time. I guess before I was using him with Brockney, but I didn't want to use him with Brockney for this showcase, just to show you that it's possible even without Brockney, but we'll see. But yeah, like, Vogoth is something that many people watching might have, and you might have multiple of him, and unless you're like super ultra endgame, there might be some cases where you might actually use Vogoth. Now, this is just like some example teams that I put together of like common champions that you might have, but you could use whatever you have and maybe use multiple Vogoths, which is something that I do actually on Bomal, or maybe you use one reviver to have like safety. But yeah, that's about it. It's very simple, very good. I mean, of course I had like some decent nukers, but this is just random team, nothing serious, but he did his job very well, and yeah, I think that's about it for this video. Nothing spectacular, but Vogoth is very interesting champion that is very underrated and definitely deserves more videos to be made about him. Like many of the early and mid game players and even end game players will find a lot of places where they can use Vogoth if they just know how good he actually is. But yeah, that's it for this video, and thanks for watching, and sorry for the late upload. I was planning to upload this a bit earlier, like maybe on Saturday, but I was very busy in real life, so it is what it is. But more videos to come next week, and see you later.